Well, hello, and welcome to Rally FC. That's right, Rally FC, the Ghostwriter podcast on the Flying Cow. That's right, a Ghostwriter podcast. Everybody's favorite thing. Everybody's listening to the Ghostwriter podcast. All 20 of you. But I am not going to do this alone. I have a very special guest. She is an actor, a director, a costumer, a woman of many talents. Everybody welcome Alyssa Jackson.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for being here. Also a proud child of the 90s. So I was over here doing the Running Man as that played.
Yes. Yes. I will say, like, we've talked about the music on this sometimes. Sometimes it's like the perfect thing for the scene. Sometimes it's like, you guys went a little overboard. But yeah, that little thing at the beginning, like, I just really like it. I mean, that's the rally theme. I didn't use the intro music because as one of my guests pointed out earlier, it just goes on and on
and on
and on
and on and on.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's they obviously invested in, the best that Casio could put out for the time. And I actually made a note about that. I'm like, the copious use of sad trombone via Casio synthesizer, at certain moments, it's just like, ooh, just a smidge too much.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing. I mean, they even show off their Casio by letting Lenni play with it every once in a while. Oh,
never let Lenni touch anything. Like she's dangerous. You got to watch out. As seen by her hair accessory choices in this episode, which we'll get to.
And we are going to talk. We are going to talk about that. But Alyssa, it is so great to have you here. I have not had you on any of my podcasts, and it's a shame. It is about time I got you on, and I got you on to talk about on Ghostwriter. So I have to ask you this question.
Sure.
Question I ask all my guests. So, Alyssa, how much do you hate me for asking you to watch this show?
Okay, well, funny story. When you asked me, I was like, oh yeah, I remember that show. Uh-huh. That dog was so cute. Yes, I mixed up Ghostwriter
and
Wishbone.
Yeah, which this would have ended the year Wishbone started. So, they're kind of reincarnated cousins kind of thing.
Yes. Well, it's funny because I was basically a little too old for both of these shows. In 92, I was 12. So I remember, like, occasionally I would come home and Wishbone, I guess, was then started in 95.
Sure.
Yeah. So I was 15. So obviously a little old, but I was still coming home every day, turning on Batman the Animated Series, watching my Animaniacs. And, like, if it was an episode I didn't like, I might flip over to PBS and, like, Wishbone's adorable. He's a tiny dog. Yeah. So I was like, oh yeah, I definitely had watched an episode or two.
Sure.
I'm not sure I ever watched an episode of Ghostwriter. So this was introducing me to, I knew of it.
Yeah.
And I'm not sad that you asked me to watch it because I actually think this would be phenomenal for a reboot today, but we can get into that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, okay, so you're basically about the same age as the kids making the show.
Yes.
As I've said several times, I was about 2 years younger than the kids making the show. So I was, like, right at the cusp. Of course, I always kind of liked things a little bit younger than my age bracket.
Same.
And also, it got me when I was younger, and so I just kept watching it. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely one that I think for its demographic holds up pretty well.
Yeah, I definitely think young middle schoolers, like probably 5th grade to 7th grade, maybe a little bit into 8th grade, would get a huge kick out of the show because it is like a bunch of kids getting into shenanigans, and it's so beautifully, delightfully, nerdily PBS.
Oh, like, yes, very much so.
oh god, with the writing everything out and reading out loud what's on the
Yes.
screen, I was like, this show could literally cut 15 minutes out if they just stopped reading everything else on the screen.
The show would be half the amount of time that it is if they wouldn't, like, they say everything they're going to say, and then you watch them write it as they're saying it again, and it's just like, oh, geez.
And in this episode, you get the same thing read twice, possibly 3 times, because, Gabby's being brought in, and Gabby didn't get to read the ransom letter the first time, so now we're going to read the entire thing again for her benefit, and I'm like, oh, y'all, this, as a theater person, like, you don't have to do it again. The audience already is there.
Yeah. One of the first things that one of my guests pointed out, they were like, the pacing in this show is horrible. I was like, it is, but it's kind of like that on purpose. So it's like, did they succeed? I don't know.
Well, there are a couple of times, like, the one thing that did drive me a little crazy about the pace was not, like, the overall pace. Like, spreading the mystery out over 4 episodes, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
Could have been 3, but whatever. Could have been 2. Yeah. But it's more the actors waiting for their cue and then delivering their line, and they don't cut that space out. So it's like, someone will say something, and then it's like, beep, 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 and then Tina goes, oh, that letter was here. And it's like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Where was the editor? Maybe they couldn't afford one. It was PBS.
Yeah. He was like, oh, she needed time to, she needed that time to think. That's right. That's what that space is in there for. Thinking time.
Oh, bless their hearts.
Yeah.
And I feel like I need to, in honor of the location, stop saying my Southernisms and bring out my New Jersey accent.
Oh, there you go.
Like, rep my Northern roots. Because it was kind of coming out as I was watching, hearing those Brooklyn accents.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, and what's funny is that some of the kids have it more pronounced than others. Like Lenni and Gabby, definitely it's there. Some of the others, you can hear it every once in a while, but those two, it's like, okay, yeah, you're region specific.
Right. Yeah. Like Gabby was probably, Gabby's probably from Washington Heights.
Sure.
Like Todd, Rod, who I wrote down as Todd for whatever reason. Rod.
That's his real first name is Todd. Todd
that's
Alexander.
why.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Yes, Rob, Todd actually he's probably from like the Upper West Side. Like you can totally like hear, they're local kids.
Yeah.
Getting local work.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and let's dive into this episode specific. This episode is entitled Who's Who? And the main storyline of this episode is Tina gets a job offer from the fabulous Lana Barnes, who is going to be honored because she is the first female action hero in American film. And Tina's a huge fan. Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's a big reason I gave you this episode. I knew this would be one that you'd be interested in. But Tina is a huge fan, and she is basically in charge of filtering out fan letters. Well, Lana gets basically the opposite of a fan letter, a threat, and the team is basically assigned to figure out who is threatening Lana and why are they doing so. And they meet various people throughout. And it's quite a thing. I will say, I realized, 6 story arcs in, I finally realized most mystery shows have a very set, equation for how the show works out. And I mean, I'm not saying that this show doesn't have a formula, but as far as the mystery aspect of the show, it doesn't really. I mean, we've discussed in previous story arcs that, most of the time they employ what I call the Murder, She Wrote style, in that you don't know, you're solving along with the team. But then there was at least one episode where they employed a Columbo style, in that you were introduced to the villain right off, even though the team was still trying to figure it out. And this one goes even one further, whereas in most of the other ones, it's still that Murder, She Wrote style, but you know, especially in, you know, if you've ever watched Murder, She Wrote, you're always introduced to the villain. And, I mean, most people that are paying attention can figure out who it is by the end. And I'm not saying that you couldn't in this one, because when I watched this at the beginning of quarantine, and my mother was in the room, and she was like, "Oh, I bet it's so-and-so," even though we hadn't met so-and-so yet.
Nice. Good job, Mom.
Yeah, and
picking up on those context clues.
Yeah, I mean, and so they definitely are, but we don't actually meet the character who it is until the very end, which is a kind of another different way to do it. I think probably the reason that they did that was to try to keep, because, you know, none of these mysteries are very head-scratchy. They're all pretty obvious.
The mysteries have to be able to be solved by 6
right.
tweens.
But, yeah, so, by 6 to 10-year-olds.
So complicated.
Yeah. But I think they were trying to make it a little bit more complicated by not introducing you to this person, just kind of introducing their existence in dialogue. Like I said, they still failed, at least where my mother was concerned.
Same. I figured it out by episode 2. I was like...
Yeah. when they introduce... I mean, I'm not going to keep it a secret. When they introduce the existence of a stunt double, it's like, oh, well, it's her.
Right, because if you read the very first letter, it's like, oh, yeah, that's who it is.
Yeah.
Duh. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. I will say, though, this one does kind of employ in the cold open. It doesn't outright introduce us to the villain, but we do it is kind of a shadowy figure we see typing this message. So we get to see them, like, of course, we have no idea of the gender or anything like that. At least, I mean, if you're not paying a lot of attention, you don't.
Yeah. As a fan of procedurals and true crime,
sure.
I know to look for those red herrings and those those little signs. So unfortunately, I think I have an edge up, especially like I had obviously, like, I was watching Law and Order and those kind of shows when I was in middle school, but it wasn't my priority the way it would become later.
Yeah.
So I may not have figured it out quite as quickly when I was that age.
Right.
Here's an interesting question.
Okay.
So from a kid in 2020.
Sure.
I don't think they would get the concept of Lana Barnes at all.
Sure.
Like, they're not going to be familiar with, you know, the great stars of Hollywood's golden age.
Yeah.
I wonder if kids in the 80s, if that would be much more applicable. Because I do remember, like, Animaniacs had a whole running Bogart joke through that show.
Yeah.
And I got it. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, I kind of wonder how much kids would, like, recognize the things that they're homaging throughout this episode.
The specific things, probably not. I think they would probably recognize, oh, she was a person in old movies. They'd get that. I mean, you know, that's pretty obvious. That's not a hard thing. But yeah, no, the specific things that they're pointing out, yeah, probably not. Honestly, I was thinking about this when I was watching it, and I was like, honestly, I feel like our generation was really one of the last ones to really be exposed in large amounts to films from that era.
Yeah, because like we had cable. You know, we had like basic cable.
Yeah, there were things that were like still TNT, playing stuff from like the 40s and 50s and stuff like that. Exactly. And now, I mean, Nick at Night is playing Friends.
Ugh, I know.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started on classic rock channels playing like what did I hear the other day? REM, and I was like, oh God, I'm old. I'm officially old.
Yeah. I'm just like, technically, Friends is about as old as some of the stuff I was watching on Nick at Night was when I was that age. But still, I'm like, I don't want that to be on. I want I want, Gilligan's Island to still be on there.
Exactly.
I want, the Patty Duke show or whatever else it is.
Yeah, it's sad. Yeah. It's a sad world. We're old.
Oh, all right. So, yeah, we are introduced pretty quickly to Lana Barnes. Like I said, she is being honored because she was, in storyline, the first female action hero in American film. And Tina right away is spouting off all of these movies. And I'm going to read off the list that she gave, plus a few others that I picked up. There was Wings of Glory. My favorite, Florence of Arabia.
Yes. that one
that
made
was
me
great.
laugh out loud when I heard it.
Yeah. All Around the World, Dangerous Curves, Mobster and Mink, and Career Girl. Now, obviously, things like Florence of Arabia is an obvious homage to, Lawrence of Arabia. But like some of these others, I mean, some of the others sound similar to other titles, but I didn't necessarily get direct corollaries for most of the other ones.
Yeah, I think that they were trying to hit kind of all of the genres of the period.
Yeah.
So Wings of Glory would be like the World War II war films.
Sure.
Dangerous Curves is a noir.
Yeah.
Mobsters and Mink, mob movie.
Movies, yeah.
Career Girl would be like His Girl Friday, those kind
Sure.
of working, workplace sort of comedies of that era. So I thought that was really fun. Like I totally was like, I get it.
Well, and I also have to say, it also gives me hope for the rest of the series, because we talked about in the first episode how, they were coming up with names that were really not great. There was supposed to be some cool kid with a cool nickname, and it was Cool Kicker. I was like,
oh,
what? No. But, then we get something like Mobster and Mink. I'm like, I don't know if that's derived from something, but I love that.
No, I loved it too. And I would happily watch any of these movies. If Lana Barnes was was an actual actress,
yes,
I would be her number one fan.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she sounds great. And I have to say, before we go too much farther, I do want to shout out the actress who played her, Patricia Barry, who was an actress of, several films, stage work. She worked basically from 1950 to 2005. She appeared in over 100 series, either in supporting roles or as a guest star. She was a working actress. Now, she was, I read in kind of a little factoid page that I found, she was actually the daughter of Miranda Barry, who was a producer for the show.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is honestly probably one of the reasons they were able to get her.
Right.
But I think she did a great job as Lana. I really liked the way she portrayed this character.
She was delightful. She was so warm, and she totally had the quality of a star from that period. Mm-hmm. I looked her up on IMDb too, because I was like, I feel like I should know her. I wonder if she was in some classic movie somewhere. But she wasn't, but she was a contract actress. She was signed to Columbia. So she was in the studio system. So she was familiar with all of these, and she had that classic 50s movie star training. So I thought she did a great job. She was very believable. And I really liked how much chemistry she had with the kids. Yeah. Because, they're child actors. Some are better than others.
Yes.
But she acted with them just as if they were a grown-up, and you could tell she was having a really, really good time in the part.
Yeah, absolutely. And, because of the character she was playing, she was using very kind of heightened language in a way that, some other actors might have a very hard time delivering naturally. She calls everyone Pookie. Everybody's got a different little nickname, Sunshine, different little things. And just to highlight the difference, we eventually meet her daughter, and, they have a reconciliation at the end, and her daughter then starts using some of the same aphorisms that she is, and it is not the same.
Oh, it's painfully bad.
Yeah.
Like that when she leaves to go play tennis or whatever they're going to go do, I was like, ouch.
Yeah.
That was not your best moment.
No. It's like, okay, leave the Pookies to her. That's her job. That's her
Basically, anytime anyone else says the word Pookie, it's so awkward.
I will say I didn't mind it so much when Tina was doing it. It wasn't... it definitely wasn't with the same talent, but it was also very much in a way of looking up to this person. It almost reminded me of someone who just really likes accents, trying to put on accents, and it's like, it's not good, but you get why they're doing it.
Right. No, I totally hear that. I agree with you.
Yeah. But we do very quickly. Tina gets offered a job to, answer fan mail, and she's asked by Lana to come and audition. It's not an interview, it's an audition. Which
audition with trying to write but giving her zero guidelines how to do it. Like the worst possible, like that if this show was different and Lana, we were supposed to hate her, you could have played the exact same scene and just have her do a different tone of voice, and it would work exactly the same way.
Yeah, honestly, I want to talk about it a little bit more in depth later, but she is Patricia Barry is 100% giving how we're supposed to feel about Lana, because it literally, like you said, those lines could be delivered in one way and you would absolutely hate her, or she could do them the way she's doing them and you love her.
Yes.
And
I love that Tina's job apparently also comes with the right to answer the phone and be alone in her house.
She's basically her secretary, is what she is. And the only thing about this whole thing is I'm like, is Tina getting paid? Because they didn't really discuss that. And I'm like, she is a 12-year-old doing the job of a grown assistant.
Yes, and I think, obviously with child labor, if child labor laws work the same in New York as they did in Georgia, you are technically not allowed to have a job like that where you would get, a W-2 until you are 14 years old. So child labor needs to be informed of what's happening here.
Right. Well, and I think technically Tina is supposed to be like 10 or 11, because the rest of the kids are supposed to be 12 or 13. She's supposed to be a little bit younger. Her and Gabby are supposed to be, although the actress was the same age as the older kids. But what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
But yeah, so it is funny because she basically gives her this fan letter and she's like, I want you to write a response. And it is something that it's like you would get an actual writer to do this. Not
exactly
an 11-year-old kid.
An 11-year-old.
Yes. But she's like, do this. And she goes away. And what was weird is I knew just the way that it was done that we weren't done with this scene. Because we did not take nearly enough time to see Tina's process.
Right.
Because she just sits down and she goes, and then she starts writing, and it does like most shows would do, and elapses through the letter, and then they just have her. I will say, I have to mention the gong, because she has her ring a gong.
Oh my God.
And honestly, I didn't mind the gong as a prop. I was a little, at first I was like, if this were in any other context with the only Asian character, this might be a little, not the best taste, but maybe we can get away with it. But then every time anybody rang the gong, the camera shook.
Yes!
And I was like,
Well,
I can totally do without that.
I had that written down as one of those rewind weird moments.
Yes.
I was like, why are they shaking the camera? This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
Well, and here's the thing. I feel like they were getting dailies or somebody was looking at this, and by the time that they got to the end of the scene, somebody has said, don't do that. Because they didn't shake it the last time, but they'd already filmed the first two with the shake.
I think the director must have just had a wild hair. She's like, ooh, let's shake the camera just to do something different.
No.
It'll be exciting.
No. It's so bad.
No, it totally makes sense, though, for Lana Barnes as a character.
Yeah.
To totally have a gong.
Yeah, she's a very
so
eccentric character. It has nothing to do with anything else. Yeah.
Yeah, she's so over the top and ridiculous. Like, of course she has a gong, and she uses it to announce her presence, for people to get her attention throughout the house. It makes complete sense.
I will say I loved the fact that the music changed every time she entered the room. Like, it could be like, serious moment. Lana enters, and it's this, majestic, here she comes, isn't she amazing kind of thing. And, because that's how she enters the room every time.
Exactly. She's with that hair, too. She's just the copper bob.
Yeah. Well, and also, I meant to mention this earlier. What blew my mind is the woman was in her 70s when she filmed this.
Wow,
doesn't look it at
great
all
for her age.
Yeah.
Dang, I hope I look that good when I'm 70.
Right? Jeez. But yeah, so anyway, she reads the first letter and it's really cold, and they end up doing it like 3 times. And the last time you actually see Tina going through the process of thinking, okay, I've got to do it like Lana Barnes. I will say the last time before she does the last one, Lana puts that feather boa on Tina, and you can tell it's way too big for her and it keeps like trying to fall off, and she just kind of keeps trying to keep it on. I'm just like, that poor girl.
Well, you know what? Lana is following her she's obviously gone method in her later age, and she's teaching Tina to reach inside her and become Lana Barnes.
Become your inner Lana.
Exactly.
Yes.
You can't do it if anything is going to help you get there. A bright pink feather boa should be what gets you there, as every drag queen can tell you.
Absolutely. But yeah, so she finally writes the letter the way that Lana would do it. What I thought was really funny, though, is that the first time that she corrects her, she literally, she says 2 lines, my fans are the air that I breathe, the songs that I sing. And when Tina finally gets it 2 letters later, she writes those exact same lines.
Yes,
I would have been like,
word.
That's good. Try not to plagiarize, though, kid.
Right. At that point, she was probably exhausted. She's like, I
yeah.
cannot go through another round of revisions.
No.
3 is enough.
Let me just use the words that Lana said. That'll work.
It's fine. We got there in the end.
We did. What I loved on that, though, was that, okay, so the first time Lana read the letter, the second time Tina read the letter, and then the third time Tina started to read the letter, and Lana took it over. What I love, though, is the moment that Lana took over the letter was when those lines came in. She's like, no, these are my lines. I get to say these.
I said them first, and I will continue to say them ever since.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was great. But yeah, so they are continuing kind of starting the B-plot a little bit earlier. When they first started introducing B-plots, they were pretty much only in the middle episodes, but they have decided to start introducing them a little bit earlier. And so this time we get the B-plot of basically Grandma Jenkins is sick and she had to go to the hospital. And basically the whole thing revolves around the way that makes Jamal feel and him kind of dealing with that. And I'm just going to sum up the whole B-plot because eventually, he starts worrying about her too much to the point of, she's just been in the hospital. She's older. Her husband's already died. So she decides it's time to write my will.
Right.
And that freaks Jamal out. He literally says, isn't that something you're supposed to do when you're dead? And she's like, that'd be kind of difficult.
Right.
Honestly, like, keep giving me these Grandma Jenkins subplots because Marcella Lowry is just killing them. She's so great.
She's a delight. And she felt super familiar. I'm like, she must have been on like guest starring on sitcoms throughout the 90s.
She did a lot of guest appearances. I don't like to talk about it much, but she was on the Cosby Show. She was Eldon's mother.
Oh, that must be where I had seen her before.
Yeah, but she was also the Campbell Soup lady, the mom of that football player.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's her.
Yeah, that's her.
Oh my God, what a wonderful, like, talk about someone who is like sort of born to play like sweet, nurturing, maternal characters. Like she's
great.
Again, like she's got great chemistry with all the kids and Jamal to the point where there's a moment that's a little strange. And I don't know if you picked up on it. But it's when I think that they're visiting her in the hospital.
Yeah.
Her sister and Jamal, and they're sitting there and his sister is like, oh, well, you got to get out of the hospital so you can go, flirt with Mr. What's his name,
Yeah,
and Jamal, and then they start teasing Jamal of being jealous of his grandmother's boyfriend. And I'm like, well, that took a weird turn.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, okay, so this happened in the last story arc. She met this guy named Bertrand, and Bertrand was this nice man from Trinidad, but he had an accent and he had a dog, and both things got on Jamal's dad and Jamal's nerves. And so they were being, quote unquote, protective of Grandma by basically telling her who she could associate with. And she told them, no, you don't.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Good job, Grandma.
Yeah. So Jamal's still kind of, he's a child. So he's still kind of in denial of the fact that Grandma's got a boyfriend. I will say, though, that unfortunately, this is apparently the last time that Bertrand is mentioned for the rest of the series, which I was like, that's unfortunate.
Come on, let Grandma get some action.
I know. I mean, in my head canon, she might not be talking about him because apparently he upsets the family, but she's still going out with him whenever she gets the chance.
Headcanon approved.
Absolutely.
I'm on board with this.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, I will say the only place where this relates to the rest of the story is that the team decides that they should give Grandma Jenkins a mobile full of get well letters and stuff like that, and Lana even includes an autographed picture of it. I will say, though, that turnaround of that was super quick because we literally get the scene of Gabby coming up with that idea, and then Jamal's like, great, I'll go tell the others. And then the very next scene, we see Lana walking through the doorway, and she's like, here's that portrait for Grandma Jenkins' mobile. And I was like, when did you find out?
Yeah, it felt like there was definitely like a scene cut for time.
Yeah. All right. Well, so then later on, actually in the scene where she gets the picture from Lana, we see a scene of Tina basically going through the fan mail. And she pulls out this one letter, and it's in a black envelope, so we know it's bad.
Dun, dun,
yes. And basically, this is the first threatening letter that we receive. And I'm not going to read every letter out because we only have so much time in this podcast. If you really want to know what it says, you can watch the episode. But it uses different movie titles, and basically it's like, Lana's an imposter, we're going to find out. But it doesn't say those words exactly, to the point where when Tina tries to get Lana's attention to it, Lana is very dismissive of the idea that it could be a threat. She's like, oh, because the last line of the thing was, we're going to find out who's who. So she's like, oh, they're probably just talking about my article in Who's Who, which is obviously where the title of the episode comes from. Which, and if you've never heard of Who's Who, it's basically what IMDb used to be. It's basically a large book filled with noted personalities, and they each have a paragraph.
And now it's a money-making scheme by the Who's Who organization, because I think it's like if you get a certain grade point average, there's some trigger that gets you like, you can be in the Who's Who of high school students, or Who's Who.
Gee. Yeah.
So I am in Who's Who for like, you know, a Who's Who of American high school students.
Sure.
And I like just randomly got this letter in the mail. It was like $50 to buy the book. Of course I bought it. You know, my parents bought it. So yeah, no, it's a total like money-making scheme at this point. Yeah. But I'm in Who's Who.
Yeah. I mean, you have to pay to keep up your IMDb page too.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So I know, because I was once in a film that bought an IMDb page and it no longer exists because they stopped paying for it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, and just going back slightly to Tina and this threatening letter, I literally wrote, Tina, you are the dumbest. You're definitely old enough to know about blackmail and threatening letters. Like, that is obviously threatening.
Right.
And to me, it read as like, Lana was like, oh, like trying to brush it off. Because
she definitely was. I will say, of all of the letters that they receive, it is the most ambiguous. I mean, it's not ambiguous, but it's the most ambiguous.
Sure.
So, and unfortunately, because of the nature of this show, we can't just jump to conclusions. We've got to consider everything. We've got to, think things out. They do, unfortunately, because of that, make the kids look dumber than they are occasionally.
It's the pitfall of every procedural. Occasionally, your protagonists are going to look dumb to serve the plot.
Yeah. But yes, needless to say, this letter, in the words of Tina, is
weird to the max.
Weird to the max. When I heard that, I was like, really? Okay.
It so took me out of the scene. I was like, oh God, it's the 90s. Oh,
and
did we really say things like that?
Also, though, we've mentioned several times how a lot of times when the show has kids say things that they think are cool, it's like, okay, we can definitely see the hand of the 40-year-old writer, writing down these words for these children that do not sound natural to them.
Hello, fellow kids.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah. Well, and just to highlight the difference, I've been watching Fresh Prince, and just the difference in the way that it's still outdated slang, but the way that he delivers it compared to the way these kids deliver, honestly, slang that really wasn't the 90s slang. It's just what adults think would be cool for kids to say, like weird to the max.
Weird to the max is like something Pauly Shore would have said in Encino Man.
Oh, jeez.
Tina.
Okay, so before we go too much further, I missed a bit. When Lana gives Tina the letter, we get a line from Lana that highlights what we were talking about before, that it's like, if you weren't making this character lovable, this would make you sound horrible. But this is really funny.
Thanks, she'll love it. I know.
She'll love it. I know.
I know. I'm amazing.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And, as you were saying before, honestly, right after that scene, we get Lana delivering one of her, aphorisms, and Tina trying, but miserably failing.
Ta-ta, sweet potato pie. Ta-ta, pepperoni pizza.
And what I love about that clip is even the music gets that Tina failed, because she goes, ta-ta pepperoni pizza, and the music goes, wah, wah.
It's the synthesizer sad trombone.
Yes!
It's so funny. Like, Tina,
yeah.
bless her. But like, okay, really? Who calls someone sweet potato pie? Like,
but she sells it.
She does sell it.
That's the thing.
I will give her that.
Yeah.
Yes. It's true. I will give her that. But yeah, that was very funny.
Oh,
I
yeah.
enjoyed that. Like, Tina, no. stick to your terrible 90s kid slang.
Weird to the max. Actually, no. Don't stick to that. Don't stick to that.
Well, the problem is if she had said it like a Valley Girl, would have sold it way more. But unfortunately, she's supposed to be from Brooklyn.
I was about to say, and that's really not Tina's character at all. What we know mostly of Tina's character is that she wants to make movies, and she is on task. She's focused. When everybody else is like, ooh, look at this, she's like, guys, let's go.
Hello.
Yeah. So right after Tina gets this kind of creepy letter, we get the introduction of something else going on. She gets a phone call. She answers the phone. She says hello several times. And then the person on the other end hangs up. This, of course, freaks Tina out. She runs out of the house. And she is then chased down by Rob on a skateboard.
The literal worst.
Yeah, I
worst.
will say in the context, it's like, okay, Rob just saw her and she freaked out and he's like, Tina, what's wrong? And she won't, he's just apparently on a skateboard. This is the first time we've ever seen Rob on a skateboard, but he's riding a skateboard. It just looks really bad that she's running down the street and he's chasing her on a skateboard.
He is like, it's awful because he's so like a typical 90s like teenage boy who knows a know-it-all and knows everything, and he's like mansplaining to all of them. And I love that all of the girls are not taking it. Like, especially Gabby is like, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. We'll talk about it in just a second, but Rob's a little different this episode. I'm just going to say that.
I wanted to punch him in the face.
Sure. Yeah. And no, I totally get that. But Tina and Rob both show up at the bodega, but, Tina eventually breaks down. I will say the person that asks her what's wrong is Alex, foreshadowing. But then, they go up to Lenni's, where she kind of talks about the phone calls and the creepy letter. I will say, though, the moment she's done talking about the creepy phone calls is when Alex walks in the room. Foreshadowing? Yeah. But
Alex is the dreamiest of the team.
Oh, geez. Seriously?
He's adorable.
Okay,
oh my
okay.
God,
I'm just going to tell you right now, what Rob is in this episode is usually what Alex is.
Oh, no.
Yes. This is usually, and I will say that they probably, because the lines that they give to Rob, I was like, was Alex just not available for that line? Because literally the type of stuff that he is saying in this episode is stuff that they usually give to Alex. Now, it might be a couple of reasons. It might be, number one, that they realize that they're always giving that stuff to Alex and they kind of want to give him a break. Or it might be because they're trying to soften him for what happens later on in the episode. But these are not usually the attitudes that are expressed by Rob.
Oh my, I cannot tell you how, that makes me so sad. I'm like, if I was a tween girl, like, Alex is adorable and he speaks Spanish and I'm just like, oh my God, I would totally have swooned over him.
No, I mean, I will say he has very likable attributes, but he's usually is the first one to be like, oh, are you okay? But honestly, this is the typical drop for Alex.
That's not good enough, Alex.
Because usually everything that comes out of his mouth is,
that's not good enough, Alex.
You should have thought that one over.
Oh, poor Alex. But he also, and just because we're sort of on this area, how charming is his dad? Like, literally, the line, all women are different. Like,
yes. Yeah.
Bless you, sir, for teaching your son, like, how not to be a crappy male in this world.
Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, we're skipping ahead. Whatever.
Sorry.
But, we do eventually, this isn't actually till the last episode, but we do eventually find out that the phone calls are coming from Alex, which, okay, I mean, I understand he's nervous and everything like that, but after, like, the second one, especially when you hear the girl on the other end going, hello, freaking out, it's like,
That's not good enough, Alex.
Yeah, dude, take a hint.
Yeah.
This is getting a little too into horror movie, teen horror of the time.
Yes.
Like,
Well,
yeah.
And also, when we finally get the reveal, we see she's on the phone going, hello. He pulls the receiver down so that he can go over his notes of what to say. I'm like, you should have done that before you dialed the phone.
But
This is not the time.
Maybe this is his first crush. He's never dealt with this before.
I will say they've kind of been building this up since the first storyline. Just little hints here and there. They've been getting a little more obvious here and there. But in this episode, we're really building up. I'm going to call it Teen X.
Oh no, that's terrible. That sounds like a tissue brand.
I mean, what would you prefer? Alexa?
Well, yes, obviously, because Alex is going to need all the help he can get. Based on his phone call skills.
Oh, absolutely. But he does eventually hang up the phone while he's trying to figure out what he's doing. And then his dad walks in. And yeah, we get, honestly, one of the best scenes in the episode. Because, yeah, they have just a really honest talk about being awkward around girls and, how to handle it. But, treating them as people. And yeah, honestly, that was one of my favorite lines in it. Because he's like, do all girls like that? And Papa comes out and just says, Alex, all women are different. He's like, yeah, I know. It's like, yeah.
There you go, Dad. This is how you raise a decent man in this world. Between that moment and when Grandma Jenkins quotes James Baldwin, those were like the two moments when I was like, yes, PBS. Giving us some history.
Yeah. And, it's like, that's, like, part of what makes it so good is that you don't expect something like that from a show of this era. But it's also not PBS. So it's like, actually, you would expect that from a show from PBS. So, but yeah. But, we'll still give them credit.
Definitely. I very much appreciated that. And this may be digressing just a bit, but like, I love that. I know that the show was intentionally cast multicultural. And I love the fact that they really did, like, and it makes total sense if you choose a place like Brooklyn, where you would have all of these kids living in the same area, going to the same schools. Like, it felt completely natural. Now, my only, like, very slight thing is that and this is only, again, I've only watched these 4 episodes. Sure. It did seem that they kind of set them in, stereotypical settings. Like, Alex is Hispanic and his family owns a bodega. Sure. And Tina is Filipina. I think I read in, like...
She's Vietnamese.
Vietnamese.
Yeah.
She's Vietnamese, and her mom is a seamstress. I'm assuming she owns like a tailor shop. Sure. But then again, those are also authentic to the place. Like, that is who owns those businesses and work there.
In those areas, yeah.
But I did love the fact that, like, you're getting this very and the kids emulate that. Like, Gabby is kind of a sassy Latina girl. She totally has, like, the look that's appropriate for what kids would be in that neighborhood would be wearing. I love Gabby. I love Gabby.
Gabby's the best. Yeah. I mean, you're right. I mean, you do have, Hispanic bodega owners. You've got the Asian, seamstress. You've got the African American doctor who lives in a brownstone. Because we do actually find out in this episode that Jamal's mom is a doctor. Although we see her in Grandma's room, and I'm like, surely she's not Grandma's doctor. That would kind of be a conflict of interest.
Maybe we can just assume that she came from her rounds.
Yeah.
And is,
she is literally
Grandma.
just arranging flowers when we see her. She's not like looking at a chart or anything like that.
Exactly.
But it's like, oh, this is a weird way to introduce that mom's a doctor in a room of someone who's hopefully not her patient.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, I will say there's a scene at the end. I really like the fact that we, because we see a lot of times, the Fernandez family conversing in Spanish. It's great. It's one of my favorite parts of the show. But we actually, in this, for the first time, get to see Tina speak Vietnamese to her mom on the phone.
Yes, that was great. I thought that was really cool.
So in that last scene, the last time we saw Lana, she said she was going to go be fitted for her dress. And, the team is basically like, this is definitely a threatening letter. You need to tell Lana. So she calls to talk to Lana, and Lana is not there. And so then we get the cliffhanger of, oh no, where is Lana? Going into part 2. Part 2 picks up with them going basically to look for Lana. It doesn't take long for Tina to hear her banging around in the garage. And I will say, I felt really bad for Tram on Tran here because they've just stuck a stick in the lock, and she is trying really hard to make it look like it's hard to pull out, but she's just pulling the wrong way instead of pulling up. And I was just like, oh, you're trying so hard.
Yeah, this is one of those moments where it's like, I'm pretty sure anyone could have gotten that stick out of there in about 2 seconds, but again, we had to make it
also, I'm pretty sure that had Lana pushed hard enough on that door, that stick would have broken.
Right, and like this was like a terrible plan on the part of this evil villain that we don't know who it is at this point,
right?
Because it's not like she locked her in the garage with the car running so she might die of carbon dioxide poisoning, which is what you would expect.
I'm really not sure what her game plan was because it's not like at this moment. I mean, at this moment she's getting ready to go fitted for a dress. If somebody else shows up, they're going to notice. So that can't be the reason. And like you said, she's not actively trying to kill her. She's literally just locking her in a garage.
Though the kids very quickly go to, this person is obviously trying to kill Lana. And I'm like, it's really not that obvious what she's trying to do.
Honestly, that comes up a lot. The kids will take the clues as literally as possible. That one comes up because one of the letters says the rightful heir will take the throne, and
right.
Gabby doesn't know what heir means, and then they tell her, oh, it's the person who gets your stuff when they die. She's like, so somebody's trying to kill Lana? And they all jump on that. I'm like, okay, I understand Gabby jumping on that, but you got, really? No? Okay.
Calm down.
All right.
Calm down. Take it down a notch. Also, if you really were that afraid that this mega world famous star is in danger of being killed, why are you not calling the police sooner than the last act of the last episode?
This is something I want to bring up because this is one of those times that this show very often will dip into things that make it look like it would be one thing if this was a regular show, but they completely don't go that direction, because even after getting locked in the garage, Lana refuses. She's like, no, we don't need to call the police. I will say, when she first is like, no, we don't need to, she gives that, kind of fun speech about, I'm not afraid of anything and, I can do anything and all this kind of stuff. It's like, oh, that's kind of fun. But then the second time after you've been locked in a garage and she's like, no. But she does acquiesce to letting Tina and the gang check it out. I'm like, okay, on any other show, this would be the buildup to Lana being behind something shady that she doesn't want the police to know about.
I kind of thought that. I did have for a second kind of like, maybe that Lana is writing the letters herself.
Right.
Like this is a whole ploy for attention. Because that's the other thing that where they get the plot gets a little muddled. Because she's like, oh, well, I'm doing this and I'm reading this script and I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And then later she tells Tina, oh, I'm going to be ready when Hollywood comes for me. So it's like, is she a has-been or is she still working? It's a little unclear.
It is pretty inconsistent. I mean, I will say most of these shows have multiple writers, and I think that they just didn't have time to kind of make the things that other writers wrote speak to each other.
Yeah, they couldn't mesh up the plots.
Yeah.
I think there were 4 writers listed on this episode, which is a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and one of the writers of this show actually appears in this story. We'll talk about that when we get there. But yeah, it is. I mean, they never do anything with that. It's not ever a thing. Honestly, there were several of those loose threads that I was like, we never explained that.
Right.
We're not going to get back to... No? Okay.
No. Can we also talk about how they just so happen to have access to all of these gossip books and who's who and whatever that get into some very personal information that I'm not sure if those books would normally address.
Yeah, well, and I mean, I will say, like, first of all, the biography of Lana that they use for one of their bits of information, the one about Janine. I'm like, Lana hasn't read this book because this doesn't sound like a flattering book.
This is an unauthorized biography, if it is anything.
Yeah, I'm thinking that the person wrote it with, I will say, though, that Lana does seem flighty enough to not necessarily register or acknowledge negative things to a certain point.
Right.
And so I feel like she may have actually even given this author permission, but never read the book, never looked into what they did, and just kind of oh, it's about me. It's great.
Right. All press is good press, darling.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, they do get quite a bit of information. It looks like from the exact same magazine that I think Rob's reading out of.
Right.
That's another thing. Okay, so we're just jumping all over the place. It's fine. When they do eventually, when Tina convinces Lana to let the team work on the mystery, they come over, and initially it is Tina, Gabby, Lenni, so the girls, and Alex. There is a point at which they just kind of, without acknowledging it, make it look like it's another day, and all of a sudden it's the exact same group, except Alex has been replaced by Rob. If they had not been wearing different clothes, I would have thought it was the same day, and suddenly Alex just disappeared and Rob took his place.
Yeah, I think that totally makes sense now that you're saying the lines don't really make sense for the characters.
I think that was originally, like we said, there were several different writers, and I think that there were scenes written for Alex, and then they realized, ooh, that's not going to mesh with this other plot Alex has. Let's just replace it with Rob. But we can't at first because we've already written this dangling plot thread we had from the last story that Rob has to go help Double T, a homeless man, find a place to live. So we got to do that. But then we're going to replace him. We're going to replace Alex with Rob and just give Rob all of Alex's lines. That's fine.
It's fine. It'll be fine. No one will know the difference.
Yeah, I literally think that is what happened, because if you analyze this at all, it doesn't make sense for what you know of the show. But at the same time, it's like, I get why they did it.
Yeah. I was definitely like, is there, and again, because I'm, coming into this for the first time, it was definitely a little like, okay, there are a lot of kids to keep track of, and I don't know who any of them are.
6 kids in the lead cast.
Whew, it's a lot.
Yeah, well, and they split them up a little bit. I will say that once Alex disappears from Lana's, he's gone for like an episode and a half.
Yeah, it's forever until he comes back.
I was thinking that either it was one of two things. That either David Lopez, the kid who plays Alex, wasn't available for filming that day, and so they just stuck Rob in there. Or it was literally what I said. They had written these scenes for Alex, and then they realized these won't work. Oh no, we didn't have something written for Rob, because he was supposed to be helping the homeless man, so we don't have anything for Alex to do. He's just gonna be, writing his script that he's gonna mess up to Tina.
And working at the store. He's very busy. The bodega was really busy that day.
Yes, very busy.
They were selling a lot of Subways, a lot of sandwiches, and he had to feed the bodega cat.
Yep, very busy. Very, very busy. But yeah, I will. Okay, so I will say in this episode, we get the very first time that Tina calls a rally. She calls it at Lana's, but she does actually call a rally. So up until this point, we've had Jamal and Lenni call the majority of the rallies. Alex has called one. Rob has called one at Jamal's. And now Tina has called one once again at somebody else's house. So far, the only person that has not called a rally is Gabby. So yeah, they show up to Lana's, and I will say, while Alex is still there, we do get that real fun scene between him and Lana, where he puts on like that fedora or whatever, and he's like acting like a detective kind of thing, and she comes in and does a little scene with him. I thought that was fun.
It was adorable, and also like it's very much like obviously he's watched some old movies with his parents, and like so he knows that sort of like Humphrey Bogart, Philip Marlowe kind of thing. I thought that was super charming, and like he's a good enough actor that he pulled it off, and it was adorable.
Yeah, I mean, that did then work into, we found out that Lana had 4 husbands. Of course, they decide to ask her about that during this scene, which then leads her to get very melancholy. And this is one of those threads that I was like, they never really answered this, but they set it up like it was going to be important, because she was like, that's right, 4 husbands. 3 of them were big mistakes, but one of them was very sweet. And honestly, the way that she did that, I was like, okay, this feels like a Blanche Dubois type thing.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they probably were going to do something more with that. And then I think it just ended up being that her one husband does still love her, and they're going to get back together.
But he was actually the only one that she straight out dumped.
Right, and because she knows she made a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, I will say he is the one at the end that, wants to rekindle their romance. I mean, I will say she doesn't necessarily say, oh, isn't that great? She's more like, isn't that sweet? It's like,
yeah.
I don't know if she's into that or if she just thinks that it's cute that he's still into her.
Of course he still loves me. Yeah. I'm Lana Barnes.
Yeah, but like, honestly, I was like, okay, so we're going to find out which one of these husbands, she feels bad about, and that's going to be a big, and I was like, okay, so the first one she dumped, the second one, they broke up, but they're still friends. That doesn't seem like she feels bad. That seems like they're fine. The other one went to jail, and the other one died. I'm like, normally it would be the one that died, but they literally never mention him again. So it's like,
just the one who went to jail had a really stupid name. Speaking of bad names.
Oh, Chi-Chi Gazebo.
No, okay, that's not the one.
Okay.
Though that one was very strange. It's like
he was the one who went to jail. It was something. The third was the one who died.
Yeah, it was something like Snowy or something. Like it was a very weird, very fake name, and I was like, oh, someone was scraping the bottom of the barrel when they came up with that name.
Yeah. So I just want to talk about, we're already talking about, plot lines that went nowhere. Stone Harrison.
That's the name that I was like, that one, for whatever reason, sounded weird to me.
Okay. To me, when I first heard that, I was like, are they trying to make a comparison with Rock Hudson?
Oh my God.
The only thing about that is, I'm like, if that is the case, I don't like kind of the comparison they might be making, because what they do is they say that, he's upset because Lana let out his secret. Rock Hudson was also a star who had a secret, but Stone Harrison's secret was that he was a con man named Archibald Leach. Rock Hudson was a gay man.
Okay. Yeah.
Not at all similar.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I never even thought about that. Well, how interesting. Like, I wonder if those were two separate ideas, cases of like two separate ideas in the writer's room. They're like, what famous male actor from that time? You couldn't get a bigger star than Rock Hudson. So we'll call him Stone Harrington. I can't believe I didn't put that together. Now I feel real dumb. And then they decided on the secondary thing, we're going to make him have a secret. And I bet they didn't even think about
the correlation. Yeah, because one is something that you should be ashamed of. The other one is something that, unfortunately, people just had to hide at that time.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. But they set that up like, that's why he's mad at Lana. But they never bring it up to him like they do confront the other people. We never find out if he's still mad at her. He shows up to her awards banquet. Nothing's ever said. They just leave him as a suspect. Yeah. And I'm like, we're not going to tie up that. Okay. No. Okay.
No, because I think, again, at that point, I think they were running out of time.
No, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, crap. We introduced all these suspects, and now we have to deal with them, but this is going to take forever. Just don't worry about that one.
Yeah. Okay, so we do, in this episode, get the introduction to the fact that apparently now, because Alex was busy at the bodega, Rob is a sexist asshole. He just assumes that all stunt doubles are men. And yeah, he's very I will say, at least the actor did it well, to a point that I was like, geez, Rob, you are an ass. And usually I really like Rob.
Oh, he's an ass. And then he goes on to mess everything up in every interrogation.
Yeah, honestly, okay, that was another thing. That is something that, because we have established in other episodes, Alex can often jump to conclusions, be a hothead, and he doesn't react well to being under stress at those times. He can be a jerk.
That's not good enough, Alex.
So, this had Alex written all over it. I will say, though, I think Rob's better at being a jerk.
Oh, I buy it from Rob so much.
Well, because even when he was doing these things that were so dumb, it was very entertaining how little chill he had. I was just like, jeez.
Because it was so bad.
Yeah.
While wearing, like, the weirdest outfit. Like, why is he suddenly wearing a do-rag? Like,
okay, I will say that is part of his regular attire. That was the very first time we met him. He was wearing a do-rag.
Okay, I was just like, for like what I'm assuming. I'm assuming he's supposed to be Jewish. Like, he's kind of representing that part of Brooklyn.
I mean, I will say, obviously, as of right now, we've only got 2 white kids in the entire cast. In the first episode, my guest speculated that she thought Lenni was Jewish.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, I don't know. I will say we have met Rob's dad. I would believe it more from Lenni than from Rob. Rob is from like a military family, and they're just,
Okay, so maybe he's supposed to be just kind of like a standard white kid.
And honestly, they just, this is only Rob's 4th story.
Okay.
In the show.
I think that the actress who plays
Lenni, plays her doll,
is Jewish.
Okay.
like in real life.
Yeah, I mean,
and
I have looked to try to figure this out, and I have not seen anything affirmative one way or the other. So that's why I haven't, made any assumptions. I don't know.
Sure.
I will say they didn't make it any part of her character. Her last name is Fraser.
Yeah. But like, if we're going by the neighborhood makeup of Brooklyn, like
sure.
If you don't have a Jewish character, then you're really leaving something
You are
out.
missing something. Yeah.
Interesting.
But yeah, I mean, Rob is typically, he is a writer and a poet, and he's usually, the very nice, sensitive one. And
he's a poet. Of course he is. He's going to be that guy in college. Oh, God, he's going to grow up to be Ethan Hawke in, what's it? Damn, what's the movie? Reality Bites.
Oh, okay. I was thinking Dead Poets Society, but a little different.
Oh, God. He's going to be that guy who brings a guitar to the party. Oh, Rob.
Actually,
no.
yeah, I could see that. But yeah, I mean, as odd as this does seem for what we have established for his character, I think that he carried it off very well. I mean, just imploding their entire strategy. And then, of course, they had, Gabby actually conduct the interview, which I was like, good choice. Good choice.
Very good choice.
But what I thought was hilarious about that scene was that while she's conducting these interviews, Lenni and Rob are still in the background, and they're behind newspapers. And the minute that the guy leaves, they're like, what did he say? I'm like, what do you mean, what did he say? You were right there.
Also, they were reacting to the things he said as he said them.
Yes!
So, yeah, that was like, okay, what is happening right now?
Well, and also, I'm like, okay, I get why you have to hide Rob behind a newspaper, because dude has no chill. But, Lenni was fine. Lenni could have been in there, and of course, she may have just needed to keep a leash on Rob, apparently.
I mean, Lenni's got her casebook. She could be there as if she's, writing poetry in this lovely corner of this apparently very exclusive hotel.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Kids couldn't do that anymore. They would have to be on their phones. They couldn't have newspapers and shake them in a very obvious way.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, as badly, blocked as that scene was, it still made me laugh.
It was very slapstick, very, typical sitcom level comedy. So,
yes.
Yeah, it was good.
Yes. All right.
Also, the character, the actor playing, that was Stone, right? That they were interviewing in that scene?
No. Honestly, we don't get a whole lot of Stone Harrison. He has that one scene with Lenni where he gives her an autograph.
I can't keep track of all of her husbands. There's too many.
Yeah, it was the first husband that they were talking to. Stone wasn't her husband.
Got it. Well, that actor was very charming and played off that part very well.
Yeah,
and he also had really nice
good. Alan Charles, played by John McMartin.
Alan Charles, of course.
Yes. And at this hotel, we first meet a desk clerk who, when they first meet him, is very uptight, very snooty, and is not giving them the time of day. But the moment that he finds out that they know Lana Barnes, he is the most helpful person in the world. You talk about a switch. My goodness. And what I love, did you catch the guy's name?
No, what was his name?
The character's name is Mr. Smarmworth.
Oh, come on, show.
Honestly, I love that name. That I think that is great. Yeah. That actually is one of the writers. His name is Frocaswell Hyman, I'm going to say.
God bless you.
But yeah, he was actually one of the writers for this episode. This story.
Well, that's adorable. Yeah. He did a great job. He totally got into character.
Yeah.
Very interesting, though, and I don't know if I highly doubt this was intentional, but to me, he was very obviously coded gay because, a man of a certain age who's obsessed with old Hollywood and swoons over when things get exciting, I was like, oh, that is a gay man.
Yeah, and you know, we have talked about the fact that this show is actually very socially conscious, especially for the 90s. Like we said, it's very diverse. You know, we've seen characters get corrected for sexism. We have seen various things. The one thing that they don't really tackle is queer characters. There are a few, and honestly, I'm going to say I think that there are more even in the show currently. But for the most part, they're just coded. We don't get any straight out, which is unfortunate. I think if they did ever bring the show back, that'd definitely be something they would have to address.
Oh yeah, and they would. I think it's definitely a symptom of the time, unfortunately.
Yeah, and you know, I think that they did pretty well. Even PBS in the early 90s can only do so much.
Right.
But no, honestly, I didn't even think to mention that. I'm glad that you did. I mean, still kind of in a comic way, which honestly at that time was the only way that you could have those characters be as obvious as he was at that time. But you know, I've seen worse. Let's just say that.
He was charming, and I enjoyed his presence and how excited he was for Lana, how much
absolutely
the kids, like, they didn't try to get back at him or be mean to him, like when he was being snooty. They were just like, well, we're going to prove to you that we know who Lana is, and it's going to be fine. And then they were like super nice.
They were just kind of just you wait. But once he was on their side, they didn't hold it over him. Yeah, they were. Oh, no. In fact, Lenni was like, "Let's make sure he gets a ticket because he's really been
that was very sweet. Yeah, it made his day.
Oh, I think it made his life.
Yes.
I mean, when they handed him the picture, he was like, "Lana Barnes sent a picture to me." I'm like, I really don't want to tell you. She sends a picture to anyone who asks, but
I know.
Yeah.
Her hand touched this picture, and I touched it too. I'll never wash this hand again.
Yeah, it was very like that. Okay, so a couple of other quick things I do want to run through. So they're trying to figure stuff out. In the last episode, Lana was sent some flowers, and it was one live rose and one dead rose. Well, Jamal was the first one who asks, well, where did the flowers come from? And they were like, we don't know. And he just opens up the box and he's like, what about the top of the box?
Guys, it's literally written right here.
Yeah. And it just says April flowers. I will say I was like, production note. That literally just looks like a piece of paper you taped on a box. But okay. Oh my God.
And how does a woman who owns a flower, I'm putting this in quotes, flower shop with like very fancy boxes and her own personalized boxes and all this, so she's operating out of a stall on the street. Where does she keep her boxes?
I mean, I will say that she apparently doesn't move around because Lenni knew exactly where to find her, but it was a stand.
Very odd. And
I was like, okay.
She obviously had a bad time in San Francisco and has come home to New York. Yes. She's continued to be the most stereotypical hippie.
Oh, yes.
Literal flower child, which I was like, oh, guys.
Yeah. I will say, though, did you recognize her at all?
Oh, no. Should I have?
I mean, I looked at her and I was like, I know her from somewhere, but I had to look her up. If you've ever seen the first two Superman movies, she plays Miss Tessmacher.
I've never seen either of them.
Oh, really?
I know.
Oh, okay.
I know. It's a huge. They're on my list because I love Christopher Reeve, and so we're going through having me watch old movies.
I just think it's really funny that you love Christopher Reeve and somehow you've missed Superman.
But I've seen Noises Off.
Sure. And what's his the mystery in the early 80s? Death Trap? I've heard that's really good.
Yeah. No, I've heard that's actually really, really good.
Yeah, that's one that's on my list. I need to get to that as well. But yeah, no, she plays one of Lex Luthor's henchmen, Miss Tessmacher.
Excellent.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought that was kind of fun, and I will say this is another bit that is dropped that is inconsistent with what we end up knowing, but they never explained. They didn't change it. Nothing. She says that the order for the flowers was made by a young man.
Right.
What young man? Because we know it's going to end up being the stunt double, Roberta. She's not given a male accomplice. That's not explained away that, it was some, just, delivery person or, somebody that she hired or anything like that. So
she obviously gave a kid $20 while she went to the wig store. She's like, I can't do both errands.
We shouldn't have to do that work, is what I'm saying. We shouldn't have to make up this excuse for them. They should tell us these things.
Yep. This is another, oh crap, we opened this can of worms and we don't have time to close it.
No. So when Jamal figures that out, they come up with a game plan. And we get this little bit from Jamal.
Ghostwriter team is on the case. I love this job.
Yeah, I'm just saying, Jamal, not a job.
Not a job.
You don't get paid. Hobby, not a job.
Yeah, you're essentially Encyclopedia Brown. Like, you've taken this upon yourself.
Yeah. Oh, it's like, okay, have you seen do you listen to Judge John Hodgman at all?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Have you seen his Dicktown series on
not
Hulu?
Yet.
I mean, I'm sure you've heard the pitch, but it's about John Hodgman's character, John Hunchman, who was basically a child or a teen detective and just stayed a teen detective, and he grew up and he's still solving crimes for teens, and he's like a 40-year-old man.
I can't.
I honestly could see Jamal doing this.
Well, poor kid.
Yeah.
He he's into karate and he's got all these interests, but none of them seem like it seems like they're kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
So
well, and I'm on record for saying that while I love Jamal, he is a dork.
Yeah.
He is a straight up dork. He's well-meaning and he's very nice. But he is a dork.
Yeah, he's like the definition of bless his heart. Like, he's gonna have a rough time in high school.
Yeah, well, and what made me laugh after this is, okay, so Tina and Lana come in as they're headed out to go do the various things they're going to do, and Lana has yet to meet Jamal. So Tina looks at Jamal and she goes, "This is Jamal. He's one of our best detectives." I'm like, so who's your worst, Tina?
Right.
Be honest.
You're like, Tina, were you being sarcastic and not telling Jamal?
I mean, I will say he did kind of just prove that he picked up a clue that none of the rest of them even thought of.
And he kind of did it with a little, guys.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. I'm just saying. I mean, the way that she said that line, I was like, you're not part of an agency. You're just a group of kids.
You are not Charlie's Angels.
No. He's one of our best detectives. What does that mean about the rest of you? I don't know.
You know, what I find very, very interesting is for a show that is called Ghostwriter.
Yeah.
They is such a tangential part of the show.
Yeah.
Like, we really don't even need that part of it. Like, it could just be teen detectives.
Sure. I mean, they definitely use him. There are episodes where they use him more, I will say.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, it wasn't until I was talking about, but yeah, we haven't mentioned Ghostwriter that much because he doesn't do that much. I mean, he does a lot of, he's a quick research tool is what he is. What we've discovered is that Ghostwriter invented texting. He is Google.
He's Google.
And
I have that written down. I was like, Ghostwriter is essentially Google.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. What gets me is the scenes where they spend what they sell as hours doing this, and then they're like, hey, Ghostwriter, you should... And I'm like, why didn't you do that 5 seconds ago? It's like
Right?
5 hours ago, whenever you started. What's funny is that the times that they do start with Ghostwriter, he then can't find what they're looking for because they don't have enough information to give him. So it's like, okay.
He literally is a search engine. You didn't type in the right words.
Yeah, you do. But yeah, okay, so let's see.
So what we're saying is that Ghostwriter, the show, predicted the internet as we know it today.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. So there are more calls to Tina that Alex hangs up on. Yeah.
That's not good enough, Alex.
Yeah, he does it like 4 or 5 times. It's like, really, before we finally get the reveal, and I'm just like, can you not tell that you're freaking her out? That, yeah, whatever. But anyway, so they are continuing to get these threatening letters. They go to the awards banquet. At this point, Lana has given all of them tickets, and Grandma Jenkins and Mr. Smarmsworth are going along as their chaperones. And at this point, things just kind of... I will say, I ended up coming up with something else, but I almost made this last, like, sequence of events at the banquet my rewind moment, because I really like how it just kind of like dominoes, how one thing happens right after another, because we get someone who looks like Lana runs in, and then we get Lana's daughter running out, and she is telling the team, my mother doesn't have time to spend with me, even though we haven't seen each other in years. And she's up there writing her speech. And Tina's like, wait a second. Lana finished her speech. And this is where they use Ghostwriter. They get him to find out what she's writing. And it is very angry and vengeful. Like I did this, I earned this. And Tina's like, this doesn't sound like Lana at all. They call Lana's house. Lana's tied up. They hear her on the phone. Yeah. So Tina goes, and we get the return of Lieutenant McQuaid, played by Mike Hodge. He's been set up, I think, in the original pilot, and they keep mentioning him, but this is the first time they've brought him back. And then Rob and Gabby sit down, and they're like, well, wait a second. The only suspects that we had left were the daughter and Stone Harrison, and they're both... Neither one of them are upstairs disguised. Oh, because we know at this point that whoever's up there is disguised as Lana, because they were looking for a copper bob, a red wig, to look just like Lana. So they start trying to figure out who it was. They realize it was the stunt double. Rob goes up and gets knocked on the head by the stunt double, in a sense being punished for being sexist. And
totally.
Yeah, and then the stunt double comes down. She starts giving her grand speech, and this is the thing. It's like, okay, I understand that stunt doubles are definitely underappreciated in the Hollywood system, but it seems to me like this woman is going after the wrong person, because the way that it is presented, like, Lana seems like if Roberta had said, I deserve some recognition too, that Lana would have said, yes, you do. You should be getting an award too. At least that's...
She does.
Yeah. She actually, when when Lana arrives at the award ceremony and the police are leading out Roberta Halton, her stunt double, she's like, no, wait a minute. She deserves accolades. She deserves appreciation. I'm just like, I feel like Roberta has let all of this stir up inside her, but actually hasn't done anything to try to healthily receive her recognition.
Yeah, I think that I kind of wonder if maybe it was an early on in the script, which might explain some of those weird line readings that could be really mean, that maybe Lana was going to be kind of villainous, and like maybe she stole the part, like, you know, that originally Roberta was supposed to have the role, and then Lana came in and stole it out from under her, and she just ended up as her stunt double.
Yeah.
Like, it did feel like, again, there was something that should have been there and isn't, and like...
Right. Yeah, see, part of me wonders if maybe, you know, Lana was supposed to be a redeemed figure, because they do set up a few characters that don't like her, and really it all ends up just being, you know, misunderstandings. And it makes me wonder if, you know, maybe it was a fault of the writing not being on the same page, or if it was just them seeing the performance and realizing, we like this lady.
Yeah, she's really nice. Yeah. She gets along with the kids. Yeah. We can't make her terrible.
You know, they just had a hard time, you know, making her unlikable at all.
I could totally see that.
Yeah.
I do feel like it was maybe like a script direction that they changed, and then that stuff just didn't get cleaned up.
Yeah. It does make it seem like I said, stunt people don't get the recognition that they deserve, but they make this character who is in that position, makes it look like, well, she was in the wrong because she just did this all wrong. And I'm like, I don't know what we're saying here. Because, I mean, within the Hollywood system, she actually is right, but the way that she did it was wrong. Okay.
Yeah, I think this is one of those cases where you just can't think too hard about it. It's like, oh, the kids saved the day and everyone's fine.
Yeah.
And we figured out who did it. Hooray!
Yay! And Rob got punished for being sexist. All right.
Woohoo!
But yeah, okay, so they wrap this up, and Lana makes it abundantly clear to Tina that even though they're done with the awards, even if she doesn't get another piece of fan mail, she definitely wants to keep having Tina around. Great. Too bad we never hear about Lana for the rest of the series. It would
have been a really fun character for them to go to every once in a while.
And she's the mother of the producer. Did they really, like... I'm like, apparently nobody just ever thought, oh, let's bring Lana back.
Yeah, that's really sad, because she's very charming. And she actually, like, the speech was cheesy and like it didn't actually have a point.
Well, but and also she's like, I want to introduce you to the real me. And then everybody stands up and claps, and I'm like, was that the speech?
Yeah, that's exactly the same. I'm like, she didn't say anything. Yeah. Like then
suddenly I'm channeling Eartha Kitt. It's not over yet. It's not over yet.
Exactly. But you know, this is a true star. Once that applause starts, you don't cut it off.
No, you just let it go. All right, but yes, so we get that resolved with Lana and Tina, but we have one last scene because Alex has to come clean about what a jerk he's been. And I will say, I liked the way that they did this. I actually thought this scene was very cute.
It was very cute.
Because he's like, you know, we're both into movies. I wrote this script. You know, you want to do it with me? And she's like, sure. And what I love, because, you know, basically it's 100% just what they're doing. The only thing he changed were the names to protect the innocent. But, you know, he comes clean about the phone calls. And of course, Tina keeps going off. Well, what I love is he's like, I'm sorry because, you know, I keep calling you and then I hang up. And Tina, as Tina, goes, that was you? And then, you know, Alex points at the script and the script says, that was you, Alfred? Yep. But what was great is in the scene, Alfred asks out Tisha, And Tina sets down the script and she's like, I'm sorry, Alfred, I can't go. And Alex looks at the script like, that's not what I wrote. What? She's like, she's going off book. And then she's like, I'd rather go with my good friend Alex. And it's like, oh, okay. But the fact that he was like, wait, she went off script. I'm like, what did you write for her, Alex? Really?
Yeah, what did you have her saying?
Yeah, it's like, you shouldn't be scripting her response. I'm just saying.
That's not good enough, Alex.
Oh,
you can't
Alex.
script her response when you're asking her out. You gotta leave that blank. That's
also,
where she fills
I kind
in.
of wonder if she's subtly or not so subtly telling him that she's actually not interested in
Yeah,
because
she does say my good friend Alex. I thought that too. I will say they do go along with this kind of 12-year-old romance, as awkwardly, but they kind of go along with it for a little bit. They then, subsequently forget that it ever happened.
Sure.
And then later they're like, was that a thing? Is that a thing anymore? No, that's not a thing anymore. Oh, okay.
We both realized it would be a bad idea. It would be too difficult for the team.
Yes. Yeah.
These very important jobs that we have. We can't
No.
justify.
That
can't risk.
It's like, because really, who would get Ghostwriter?
Exactly. Oh yeah, what if they broke up? Who would get Ghostwriter in the breakup? It's just a bad idea.
Yeah. Ghostwriter could not take that, I can tell you that.
This is why you don't date your coworkers. No. And this is obviously a very important job that they have. So yeah, it's just it's not allowed to happen.
And they do love this job.
They do love this job.
Gotta love those benefits. Okay. Well, Alyssa, is there anything else about this story that you want to talk about before we move on?
No, I think we covered everything. The only, I'll save it for my rewind. I have a rewind moment, but
absolutely.
No, I thought it was a really cute story. I think it worked really well, and having sort of the last minute reveal, I think would have fooled some children, not me. But it was fun. It was really fun. I'm glad that actress got to have a lot of fun in her 70s.
Yeah. She was absolutely great. All right. Well, real quick, we're gonna go through this segment, which I have officially retitled Ghostwriter Fashion, because, as we know, this show happened in the early 90s, and there are some things that, even though they're not necessarily things that we would wear now, they still kind of look okay. But then there are some things that I'm just like, okay, we need to talk about this. Anybody who's listening can follow along with the pictures on the Instagram account at the Flying Cow Pod and see all of this splendor. This first picture, it's the picture of Lana, and Lana changes outfits like in every single scene. Honestly, when she did the scene with Tina where she went out and came back 3 times,
yes,
I almost wanted it to be a different outfit every time.
Yeah, I think that she subtly was changing. Like, there were small things that were changed.
She was
every
changing
single
hats.
Time. Oh, it was hats.
She changed hats, and in the look that we have right here, she is wearing the pink feather boa in this very black and white look. I mean, you're more a fashion costuming person than I am. Would you put a pink boa in a black and white outfit like this?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Splash of color.
I mean, if you're going for like a bowl, I mean, you never wear a pink boa. You just don't. This is not something you wear on the street or anything. You only wear it if you're performing. Yeah. It's a costume piece. Yeah. So, you would only wear it in this context where I think she's just being silly and goofing around. But I will say, if a pop of color is a great idea if you're wearing an otherwise monochrome outfit. So I do commend her fashion sense in that way.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's. I had to include a picture of Lana because she's what the entire story revolves around, and I thought the picture of her with a boa was just great.
It's great.
All right, so let's move on to the next. Okay, so I included this. This is a picture of the mobile that is given to Grandma Jenkins. On the right-hand side, you can see a blurry version of the picture of Lana. And then we see another on the opposite side, a pink note, probably very heartfelt. It's a little blurry. I can't really make out what it says, but I'm sure it's very sweet. But right in the middle, we have a wonderfully dorky picture of Jamal. And number one, this is probably straight up a school picture of Sheldon Turnipseed.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That they just were like,
picture.
We need a young picture of you from not too long ago. And, you know, I will say I was surprised to see him in glasses because we never see Jamal in glasses. I'm wondering if at this age he's been able to transition to contacts or if he's needs glasses and is not wearing them for the show.
So I started wearing glasses in the 5th grade,
mm-hmm.
and then I got my first pair of contacts in the 8th grade.
Okay.
So timing can't, and this literally would have been that around this exact same time. So he very well could be wearing, contacts.
Sure.
They could have, if they had chosen to, they could have kept him in glasses and gone with the big, thick, different world style glasses. Sure. Looked super awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, with all the diversity, none of these kids wear glasses.
Yeah. Also, and I thought of this as we were talking.
Mm-hmm.
There are no Italians. Where are my people?
No. Yeah, that's true. I mean,
if you're gonna have 2 white kids, then one of them should be Irish and the other should be Italian. That is Brooklyn.
That's very yes. New York is very diverse, friends. Yes, but yeah, I was like, I saw this picture and I was like, I have to include this picture.
It's adorable. It reminds me of it. So I don't know if you have this on your Christmas tree, but on my mom's Christmas tree, we have these ornaments that we made in like 1st and 2nd grade. Yeah. And they look exactly like that. Yeah. Like that to me may have come off of like his family's Christmas tree.
The Turnipseed family Christmas tree.
The Turnipseed family Christmas tree.
Yep. All right. So this next picture, okay, I included this mostly because of Gabby's hat.
Yes.
Because, and I'm not saying it's a bad looking hat. It's just a very 90s hat.
Oh, this whole look is so beautifully 90s. Like she could be like a fly girl. Like she's got
that is the look. Yeah.
Yes, it's a perfect streetwear that a Latina girl would wear in this period. Like it's perfect. They really nailed her wardrobe.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean it's just this hat, you know, it's like striped and I think kind of multicolored a little bit in the on the regular part of the hat, but the bill it's also like if you see the back of it, it's also that color configuration, but it is flipped up almost in front of the rest of the hat.
Flipped up hard.
Yeah. It is.
Will Smith would have worn this exact hat in this exact way on Fresh.
Yep, I could totally see him wearing that. And the rest of it is just it's kind of athletic looking. Yellow and black and just kind of blocky. But yeah, it looks almost, I mean, it's not a jersey or anything, but it has kind of that look to it.
Which was this is very, very on trend for the 90s. Like streetwear, like, let's use the term that would have been used at the time. Urban streetwear had a ton of like athletic inspired gear. Like you were wearing, jogging pants and lots of jerseys. Mm-hmm. So this is very, very on trend and right for this period.
So the next picture, and I bring this one because we see Tina actually in this outfit in other parts of the episode, and it is, I mean, it's just kind of a big, I don't know what the style of sweater, but it's a big sweater.
Yep, big sweater.
Yeah,
90s,
just
big sweater.
Big sweater. But when she goes to check on Lana, she puts on a kerchief and sunglasses. She looks like a starlet hiding from paparazzi.
That is exactly. I'm like, did she get into this outfit because she thought that things may be afoot, and she was like, had gotten so into Lana with her method acting,
yeah,
that
that's
she had to channel her.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, okay, she is taking, but we never see Lana dressed like this. But it is very much that kind of, like I said, starlet going out, wants to avoid being seen kind of look. I just found it really odd that she just all of a sudden dons this, and it makes the entire look completely different.
It's insane in just the right way. I love it.
Yeah, it's great. All right, so then the next one should be the first of our black and white photos, and this is something that we didn't mention in the episode. But there are 3 little vignettes where basically the kids, and they're not even acting out like actual parts of Lana's life. They're more just acting out like conjecture of what they think may have happened in certain moments in Lana's life.
Yeah, it was so jarring when the first one happened. And I was like, is this something that they do in every episode, or is this specific because this is like all old Hollywood and it's their little like homage to it?
Yep.
Very odd.
Yeah, it is. I will say though, some of them were a little awkward, but I thought that they were fun.
It was fun.
This first one is Tina always plays Lana, but we have Lenni playing her manicurist. And what I love about this is I think it's funny how often they give Blaise Berdal the opportunity to do different accents and different voices because she is now a professional voiceover artist.
Yes, I wonder if that was something that they heard her doing like off screen, or if she would play around with it.
Yeah, I mean, I know she was doing commercials and stuff already by this point. I mean, I will say that they also give some of the other kids those opportunities as well. But, you know, Lenni always goes for it. And in this, she is playing a very over-the-top. I mean, she already has a New York accent, but she's really going for it, doll. And it's just like,
she's going for the total, like, stereotypical Long Island accent here.
Yeah, it's really funny.
It's very good.
And she's, got this huge wig on, honestly, to the point where this was the best picture I could get. You can barely see her face.
You really actually can't see her face through the entire thing because she's doing her method acting. Yeah. She is fully painting those nails and taking care of that.
Yep.
It's so funny.
Honestly, that was my one complaint. I was like, it sounds like Lenni. I'm pretty sure it's Lenni, but we never see her, really.
Yeah, it took me a second to realize that it was all the kids doing all of the parts. Like, right. At first I thought it was just Tina, and then, came to realize it was all of the kids, which is very cute. Yeah. Very Bugsy Malone.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, although not nearly as uncomfortably cringy, at least in my opinion. I have a hard time with Bugsy Malone. I mean, I will say I didn't see it till I was like, 18 or 20, so that might have a big part to play in it, but I find it really uncomfortable.
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah. It's not it's bad. It's very, very, very weird.
Yeah. So this one we actually, because in the last one Tina was playing Lana, but she was all wrapped up in towels. This one we actually get to see her in a Lana wig, Lana style,
which is awesome.
Yeah, with Rob playing Stone Harrison. And okay, I know that he was very unlikable in this episode, but I've always said that I think that Gabby is one of the best performers on the show, but I think Rob's the next. I think that he is, like I said, as unlikable as he is, I think he does a really good job with it. And I actually really liked him in this scene. I was like, huh?
He pulls this scene off really well.
Yeah.
I think in terms of like naturalistic acting, I think Alex is a little bit better. But
oh wow.
But again, You've only
seen this one story, sure.
I've only seen this one. Yeah. But Rob is very good in this, and he's obviously seen, these old movies or something like it, because he plays it.
He's definitely channeling a bogey.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. So then the last black and white photo, I had to pull this one because this is where they're doing the stunt double thing.
Right.
And Jamal plays a director in this scene. And I just have to, because Jamal, we talk about, the kids doing voices and going for it. And Jamal is going for something here.
Scene 33, Runaway Campbell, take 34, Lana stunt double, action!
I'm like, is that his Louis Armstrong impression? Like, what is that? Like, I kind of like it, whatever it is. I just am not certain what he's going for.
It just sounded way too much like Cookie Monster. I was like, why is he doing Cookie Monster? It makes no sense.
Lana, take!
Yeah, it was such a weird choice.
Let's get stunt double!
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think I kind of heard that in my head. Like, when he started speaking in full sentences, I'm like, well, that doesn't sound right.
No. Yeah, that's really funny. Okay, Cookie Monster. I'll go with that. But once again, Jamal looks good in whatever you put him in. I mean, he's just wearing like a, black in a black background, so it's kind of hard to make him out. But he looks great. That's the one thing that as dorky as Jamal might look, he always looks good.
Oh, he's a good-looking kid. Yeah. He's definitely got that going for him, sure.
All right. So then going back to the one with Gabby, Rob, and Lenni. And I pulled this one out because when I originally started this bit, it was supposed to be to highlight the fashion mostly of Lenni, because Lenni always has very out there fashion, and she almost always has crazy hats. But since I started this, they literally, from the beginning of last episode, or last story, took a dip in the amount of hats she had, to the point where the last outfit she wore in the last episode and the first one she wore in this story were plain flower print dresses.
Yes.
Like, it's like, okay, it was almost like they felt like they had reached critical mass with her look, so they decided to zero her out and start her over.
But oh my god, like, that did not prepare me for the freaking insanity of the looks that would come out of these two final episodes.
Okay, we're gonna get to that in just a second. But, okay, I do want to point this out because at this point, they had kind of reached back up to Lenni looking more like Lenni. They had, before this, done a couple more looks where she looked more like herself without the hat. Now that they've come back to the hat, once again, she's wearing the Koofy hat, which I'm still not sure.
Cultural appropriation?
Yeah, well, and also religious appropriation, because it's linked with, believers of Islam. And
right.
I'm not certain, but I don't think that Lenni's a follower of Islam. I will say, though, once again, not the first white person I've seen wear one of those hats. She's not alone if it is appropriation, so I don't know.
Well, it's also like a men's hat.
Typically, I will say I have seen girls in it before.
Okay.
Yeah. But
usually it's
typically
a men's hat.
Worn by, black Islamic men. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, like, to me, it's like Louis Farrakhan. That's like the first thing that pops in my head when I think about that kind of hat.
Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, Gabby's look looks normal. I will say, once again, she is the only person on the team that accessorizes her string on her pen because she's rocking the orange string, and everybody else, it's always black. I just think that's really funny that Gabby is apparently the only person that gets to change the color of that string.
She's like, if I'm going to wear this stupid string, I'm going to make it look good.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Rob, in kind of a typical look for him, I've said it before, but I think with Rob, they're trying to get that kind of grunge fashion of the 90s.
But it's like, but that's not even the right look. You would not wear, he's wearing the bandana like Rhoda. Like, that is not how you wear a bandana in the 90s.
Yeah. I mean, once again, you can often see the handprints of much older people trying to make these kids look, quote, cool.
Right. Yeah, no, this is a fail. He literally looks like he's wearing a schmata. He's about to go clean out the oven. Like, it's terrible.
He does look like he's dressed like a clean, or he does look like he's adorned like a cleaning lady.
Yeah, it's bad. Which is funny because everything else totally fits with the grunge look. Like the flannel with the t-shirt, baggy pants, like that's all right. But then you're giving him literally like Rhoda's kerchief.
Yeah.
It's not a kerchief, not a do-rag when you make it look like this.
Yeah. All right. So then going into the last one, and okay, we have to talk about it because as I mentioned, and honestly, this is one of those that stands out. Like when literally. I have watched every single episode of this series and I remember this look because Lenni has the mother of all bows eating the top of her head. It is honestly almost twice the size of her own head. And it's just sitting there saying hello to everybody.
It's insane. Like it is literally the most banana pants thing I have ever seen. And let me say that I grew up in Marietta, Georgia, amongst very Southern girls who loved hair accessories and wore big, loud hair accessories. Yep. But I've never seen a bow that big and made of tulle.
Yes!
What? She cut the bottom off of the bridesmaid's dress that she's wearing and made it into a bow and stuck it on her head.
She's literally wearing a ballerina on her head.
It's horrifying.
It's I will say though, I feel like because I said in the last story that, she was wearing a plain dress and I'm like, Lenni dresses very bohemian. It's all, mixing, matching, lots of vests, lots of, bright colors, lots of crazy patterns. And, she was wearing this just plain flower dress. And I was like, what's crazy is that I was complaining about, an ordinary outfit looked fine on her, but it was just, my complaint was that it was too ordinary. It didn't look like Lenni. I was like, it would have like a big crazy bow on the side or something like that. And it's almost like they knew this bow was coming, and they were like, let's pull it back so that maybe when we get there, it won't seem that bad.
Oh. I just, like, what? Like, this was, the costume designer was at lunch, and they had to shoot this scene, and they're like, the green dress isn't working as it is. Yeah. She needs a little something. Yeah. And some intern was like, I'll figure it out. And this is a mistake.
No, you know what I think happened? I think this was like a Sixth Doctor's coat moment. I think this was I want Lenni to have a bow on her head. A big bow. And the costumer put a tiny green bow on her head. No, bigger. No, bigger. And finally she just made the hugest bow that she could to show them how ridiculous it would look. And they said yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Oh,
absolutely.
It's so I think I literally gasped out. I made an audible noise when she appeared on screen.
Yeah.
I spent a good solid minute to 2 minutes staring at it, trying to figure out what was happening, which is difficult because the image quality of these videos is not great.
Yeah, it's a little grainy.
So I was like, is it a hat? Is it a full hat? Is it a wig? It hurts me. It hurts my soul. Like, I think I may have, like, I think this may have taken a few minutes off my life.
See, I mean, as, you know, as a costumer, as somebody who knows fashion, I understand that. For me, I look at it and I say, that's Lenni.
That's Lenni.
Yep.
She even had, like, a quirky name, like Lenni.
Yeah, well, and I will say, I didn't mention it, but she started in this episode, every time she tells somebody her name, especially if they're going to write it, Lenni with an I. And I was like, I feel like that was a note. Like, people were like, Lenni's a boy's name, you know, or something, you know, ridiculous like that. And so they were like,
because it's obviously a nickname. So it's like, well, then what's her full name? Is it something,
I don't know, actually.
You know, like Eastern European or something, and that's why she goes by Lenni?
I mean, her dad's a musician, so it might just straight up be it. Honestly, she might be named after Lenny Kravitz, and they just changed the spelling.
Oh dear.
Okay, so that is the fashion. So I do have a couple more segments before we wind this down. First of all, Alyssa, who is your top suspect? Who was the person in the episode that was your favorite or was the most fun or you thought just did the best job? Who was your top suspect?
I would say probably I very much enjoyed the hippie flower lady was so freaking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like as a suspect. But I actually think like my favorite character was I love Jamal's sister. What?
Denitra. Yeah, we didn't mention her.
I love her.
She made actually only her second appearance in the series, and actually this was her final appearance. Denitra Jenkins, played by Samaria Graham. But yeah, no, she's great. Calling him Jammy Jam and all this. I was yeah.
Well, obviously,
the family stuff in this show is so well done.
Those were the best parts by far was the family interactions, because it also like it felt the most genuine, even though they were sometimes it was a little didactic, like oh, this is what a will is. We're going to kind of address death in this episode,
right? But this is for 6 to 10 year olds that, you know, these might be new heavy things for them. Yeah.
Yes, but Denitra obviously had to go back to college with the cast of A Different World, because that's totally who she belongs with.
Absolutely, yeah.
She was like a proud, you know, at the time she would have been a proud African American woman.
Mm-hmm.
She speaks Swahili, like she's totally like embracing her African roots. Mm-hmm. Like she's freaking awesome. I wish that they had incorporated her more because I loved her.
Yeah. Yeah, she was in the very first episode that was aired, and then she was in this one, and that was it, unfortunately.
Sad. Very, very sad.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but yeah, she's great. She definitely, like I said, I believed her and Jamal as brother and sister.
Oh, they had really good sister-brother chemistry.
Yeah, they sniped at each other in a playful yet loving way. It was great. Okay, so mine, I have to give a shout out, a runner up to Marcella Lowry again as Grandma Jenkins. She was my top suspect in the last story, but she was just great in this one. The way that she handled those scenes with Jamal and, you know, him, you know, having a hard time with her being sick and overdoting and, you know, just the I almost pulled it out, but the bit where he is doing, I mean, I will say he's all worried about her like overexerting herself and being sick, and then he's doing karate moves right in her face.
You literally just pulled out my rewind moment.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Then I'll save it. But she was absolutely great. But my top suspect for this episode, it's got to be Lana.
Oh,
she was just perfect for this role, to the point where it's possible the writers might have ruined the episode because they just couldn't write her unlikably.
Oh, but you're right. I mean, if I was going to choose, I mean, it's unfortunate that the sister was in it so little, but she just really had an impact on me. But Lana would definitely be my second pick.
Just wonderful. And like I said, the way that she was able to, I mean, she showed her talent in what she did with these lines, what she did with the kids. She really showed up and showed off. She should have won.
Yeah. She should have won an Emmy for this.
And I hate the fact that I know that she doesn't come back, because I would love to see her come back. And like I said, the fact that apparently she's the mother of one of the producers, I'm like, you guys really dropped the ball on that. All I'm saying is
that's not good enough, Alex.
It's really not good enough.
It's not good enough, Alex.
No. I'll never get to the point where it would sell, but that should be a t-shirt for this show.
Right. Yes.
All right. But with that being said, Alyssa, what is your rewind moment?
Okay, so the one stands out far above all else. Mm-hmm. And that is when Jamal is doing his karate. Yes. And doing it very well, by the way. Like, he has obviously actually taken martial arts of some kind, because his forms were very good.
Yeah, they did a subplot in one of the earlier stories where he and Gabby actually both went to a karate class. She kicked his ass.
Nice.
But
of course, because she's amazing.
Which is also, they follow up on that. Not only is he doing moves, but she actually does one in this story as well.
Nice. Yes, she's the best. So he is doing his karate forms, and he does them. It's okay. So the reason why it's a rewind moment is he's super close to her, and she does an initial reaction of like, huh. But then she lets out this scream and runs away from him, even though he's been doing it that close to her for like 5 minutes. Yeah. It was so bizarre. I was like, what the fuck just happened? Am I allowed to swear? I don't know if I'm allowed to swear.
It's absolutely fine. I mean, I know this is about a kid's show, but I don't expect children really to listen to a review show. So
you cannot expect me to watch that moment and not say, what the fuck just happened? It's bizarre.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I will say that transition, I don't think was blocked very well.
No.
It was a little awkward, but I loved Marcella Lowry in that moment, because she screams, she's like, oh, and she sells it as well as she can, but she runs over, just out of the way, and Jamal runs over and he's like, Grandma, are you okay? And she goes, oh yes, I just love running around the room like my hair's on fire.
Winning all the things.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's so good. It's so weird.
Yeah.
It's like just they made no sense at all.
So funny. All right. So my rewind moment, and it took me a little while on this one, because I loved that scene. I loved, like I said, the sequence at the end, the way it kind of moved. And even though there were some flaws in it, I just kind of loved kind of like the domino effect that they did there. And another scene that I really loved was the scene between Alex and Papa.
Yes.
I thought that was done so well, but I specifically wanted to bring up a moment, a line that they talk about, because I remember hearing this as a kid, because, Alex is trying to figure out what to say to Tina, and he writes down something that he thinks is dumb, and he wads it up, and he throws it, and the moment he throws it, Papa walks in the door, hits him on the chest, and he just kind of looks down, and of course, Alex is embarrassed. He doesn't want him to see the note, so he runs, and he grabs at the note, and they bump heads, and they're like, oh, that was so funny. They say, oh, it reminds me of Cantinflas films. And I remember hearing that as a kid thinking, what is that? What is Cantinflas? And I looked it up, and it is this Spanish language comedian who did a lot of comedy films. And apparently a lot of them were very linguistics jokes, and a lot of them depended on, jokes about the Spanish language and stuff like that. So I'm not sure how well they would translate. So I've never had the opportunity to check them out. But I was just like, I just feel like that's so cool. Like, to just kind of drop this type of cultural entertainment in, this show that's probably going to be watched by this show. I think actually, PBS has a pretty wide-reaching audience. But I was just like, kind of like the moment in the last story where, Tina was talking about wanting to eat sweet rice and black beans for dessert. Just dropping these things that the white kids, watching it would be like, what's that? But, giving them the opportunity to search that out, try these different things and open your mind to different types of things. So I just thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it's also like not being unafraid to make a reference that not everyone is going to get, but it's going to be super meaningful to that part of your audience.
Right. Well, and I honestly remember as a kid thinking, that's something I want to seek out. That's something I want to look up. Now, because in the way that it happened, in the part that it happened, I didn't immediately run to look it up, but I did now, now that I've got Google on my phone.
Right.
And, something also that I remarked is that this story would have come out the same year that this comedian died. So I wondered if it was kind of like a tribute kind of thing.
That makes sense, because they do kind of say it with a little, oh yeah, those were funny. Yeah. It was kind of a little like, oh moment. So yeah, I think you might be right on that.
Yeah. Well, and also it was a bonding moment for them, and it just, because it was, something that we might not know, but something that was very culturally relevant for them, just felt that much more natural and that much more personal. Just it was a great touch, and I really liked it. All right, so few more questions for you, Alyssa. I promise we're going to wrap this up. But first of all, if Ghostwriter were real and he wrote to you, would you answer? And if so, what would you say to him?
I would, because I think I would ask him, are you a ghost? Were you alive? And if so, what is the afterlife? Like, is there a heaven? Is there a hell? But he might not know. He might be stuck in limbo. So yeah, I don't know. I may just leave well enough alone and be like, you're creepy, and I have Google. So
all right.
I don't need to be distracted by the writing on my book suddenly magically spelling out left messages to me that other people can't see.
Sure. All right. Well, then, with that being said, based on what you do know about Ghostwriter, who or what would you guess that he is?
It's so funny because this episode, there is so much that doesn't really rely on it. I'm going to use gender-neutral pronouns because we don't know what Ghostwriter is.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would have preferred if they'd done that. They did in one story specifically. He referred to himself as a he.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, in that case, since he has a gender, I would say that he was probably a human at one point. I'm going to go with ghost. Like, he is actually a ghost. This is this weird... Okay, I'm going to get real nerdy on you for a second.
No problem.
It almost follows the Victorian followings of essentially like they were obsessed with psychic powers and the supernatural, and they would do the spiritualism movement, the Victorian spiritualism movement.
Yeah,
this totally follows those aspects. The writing, manipulating existing space, being basically unseen. I mean, he's essentially just this ball of light. So I think it totally follows the Victorian belief in what a ghost how a ghost would manifest in the real world. So I'm going with ghost.
Any guess as to whose ghost it might be?
Oh boy. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to say I don't have enough information at this time. I
will say, based on what you said, I can fill in. I think you think he's the ghost of Charles Dickens.
Oh, well, okay. only because he's only if he was getting paid by the hour or by the word. I have like a whole rant about Charles Dickens. I'm not a Dickens fan.
No, okay. No problem.
But, probably a famous writer. I would say if we're going to follow the ghost writer setup, then yes, probably the ghost of a famous writer. Or, okay, I'm going to go with this. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, writer of mysteries, would be able to solve things. So I'm going to go with that.
Okay. All right. I like that. All right. Well, I will say that the identity of Ghostwriter was something that was planted very early on in the show. And it was kind of set up that it would be an overarching mystery for the entire show that hopefully they would solve by the end. I will say there are some episodes that deal with it more than others. This is one that really didn't deal with it at all. And unfortunately, the show ended abruptly in the middle of the third season because of lack of funds. So they never actually got to explain who Ghostwriter was meant to be. But they did eventually give an interview. So I know. Would you like me to tell you?
Yes, of course.
Okay. All right. So
I want to see how wildly off base I am.
It's okay. So in 2010, Ghostwriter writer and producer Kermit Frazier revealed in an interview that Ghostwriter was...
Oh my God. Wow.
It's heavy stuff.
That is heavy. Yeah. Very heavy.
Yeah, pretty heavy for a kid's show.
Okay, I will guarantee that no one is ever going to guess that out of nowhere.
People have gotten close.
Yeah, oh, wow. That is fascinating. That is so interesting.
Yeah.
God, I feel like that it gives it a very, now I kind of want to go, watch an episode that, deals with Ghostwriter very specifically.
Yeah.
And, see if I can suss out any little tidbits that might...
clues, yeah.
Yeah, and I kind of wonder, too, were the kids told the identity of Ghostwriter, and were they reacting to it?
I don't think so. But first of all, I want to give everyone the opportunity to get in contact with me if they would like to. I'm easy to find. I'm the Flying Cow Pod on most things. At the Flying Cow Pod on Twitter and Instagram, and the Flying Cow Pod at gmail.com. You can also find me on Facebook, on the Facebook group, just the Flying Cow. And yes, so with that, I would like to give you the opportunity, Alyssa, if there is anything, first of all, if there's anything personal that you want to plug, anything that you're doing that you want people to know about, now's the time. But also, if there is anything that you would like to share that you are enjoying in media, whatever it might be. Feel free to share that. And an added bonus if it is something that uplifts the voices of women or people of color.
Awesome. I love it. Well, you can find me on the interwebs at Alyjack, ALYJACK, on Instagram and Twitter. I mostly share pictures of my overweight cats. That's like a big part of it. I also have a cosplay blog, Alyjack_cosplay on Instagram, where I document the things I make. And right now, since we don't get to have conventions and get to dress up and do anything fun, I'm basically doing some subversive embroidery where I'm embroidering different pieces with messages like, may you have the confidence of a mediocre white man.
I saw that one. Yeah, that's good.
Things of that nature. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, you can follow me there. A piece that I'm loving right now, piece of media, is Lovecraft Country on HBO. It is absolutely freaking incredible.
It's gotta be because you're the third guest in a row to plug it, so it's gotta be really good. I'm just saying.
Oh, good! It's so dang good. I mean, because it's also, it stars primarily people of color. It's also about the Black experience in the 1950s. It also plays with gender, as we're kind of starting to see in these later episodes.
Oh, wow.
But it's also really fun because it's playing with genre. So while there is an overarching story and sort of ties into Lovecraft and horror in that way, each individual episode is a different genre. So there's a ghost story episode. There's a national treasure, literally homaging Indiana Jones.
Oh, wow.
There's a body horror episode. So it's really, really cool. There's a little bit of everything in there. And the other thing I'm looking forward to, which hasn't actually started yet, but is coming out soon, is the second season, which is of an anthology show which was originally The Haunting of Hill House on Netflix. Absolutely. I've watched it 8 times. I just think it's a beautifully written, it's gorgeous to watch. The cinematography is awesome. So what they're doing is they're keeping mostly the same cast, but they're setting it's going to be a completely different story. So this one is called The Haunting of Blythe Manor, I believe. And it's going to have I think a haunted doll is going to be in it. I don't know. The trailer looks amazing.
Wow.
So, highly, highly recommend those things.
Awesome. All right. Well, mine, I really wanted to highlight something that was lifting up the voices of women. Honestly, I have a few things on the back burner that I really want to get to. I just unfortunately didn't have time. But I do want to lift up something, and it's bending a little bit, but it doesn't have a set director. But there were several producers and several editors that are women. And it is a story kind of about women. I've been watching a lot of different documentaries recently. And the one I've been watching the most recently that's still ongoing, also on HBO, is The Vow.
Yes!
Which...
Nexium!
Oh, that is tough. If you are if you are not familiar with Nexium, first of all, I'm not sure where you've been because I don't read a whole lot of media and I know about this. But Nexium was basically this thing. It was kind of set up as a self-help thing, and it's so weird the way that they set it up, because the very first episode, they introduce that this is from people that have escaped this thing and it's bad, but almost the entire first episode is all about how good it was and the positive things and all of this kind of stuff. And what was so messed up about it is that it was camouflaged as this very helpful thing, but what it really did was it broke down your defenses to the point where you could be manipulated. And what really made me angry was the idea that the thing that that ultimately became its downfall was something that really what it was it was pointed towards the abuse and manipulation of women, but it was disguised as something to make them stronger, which is horrible. And it's one of those things, and I've watched docuseries before where, you know, I enjoy it, but by the end I'm like, that was good. This I mean, there are only 5 episodes in. Every single time it ends, I'm like, it's over?
Yeah.
I want more. I want to know it's like, I know these people are okay, but I want to know that they're okay.
I haven't actually started it yet.
Oh,
but
really? Oh, it's really good.
There was a podcast series that was a documentary series that I think one of the newspapers did that was about NXIVM, and it was also it may be one of the same women who was a survivor of the group.
Sarah Edmondson?
Potentially. It's been a minute since I listened to it, so I kind of know, you know, the ins and outs of the story.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely 100% right. The fact that they cloaked it as a women's empowerment group. It was literally supposed to be teaching women, like, you know, networking, making connections in the business world, starting your own business, being independent. And the whole thing was the mastermind of a creepy, disgusting dude.
Yeah.
Is just so awful.
Yeah.
And like the level of stuff that happens to these women is just, it's scary.
And the fact that even after his conviction and open blatant, there are still people who consider themselves part and are still
like followers, devotees.
Yeah, they're followers, but they're fighting his conviction. They're, you know,
right. Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, there were women who were Manson girls, like literally 20 and 30 years after that was all over. So, you know, there are just some people whose personalities make them want to follow danger and Yeah,
but see, I mean, like that's one of the things that gets me the most about this is that they specifically targeted like successful, powerful people.
Yeah.
That you wouldn't expect to be taken in by something like this. And it's like, oh, that's messed up.
Yeah. Yeah. But good to be aware of, this is partly why I'm obsessed with true crime is like psychopaths are very difficult to spot. Yeah. And it's a way of always like, you know, being aware, like it can be real. Even people you would think are the smartest and most savvy can be taken in by psychopaths.
Yep.
On that happy note.
Yeah, right. All right. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much, Alyssa, for coming on, for watching this show and coming on here to talk with me about it. It's been a lot of fun.
It's been wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And join us next time when we will be talking about an episode that has to do with the environment.
Ooh.
How topical is that?
So topical.
Yeah. And it's honestly one of the first episodes I remember like being like, ooh, that's kind of heavy. All right, this is real stuff. But yeah, come and join us for that barrel of laughs with Over a Barrel, funnily enough. But yes, join us for that. We will see you next time. And until then, Ghostwriter out!